Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an order within Magento, and then I'm going to jump across into IMan. I'll show you the configuration, and I'll step through the configuration so you can see how we actually can transform data, manipulate data, etc. within IMan before we import it into SageCRM. So I'm just going to reorder something which I've already done previously. So this is just using a plain vanilla Magento site without any customization. So there's my order. So what I'm going to do now is to jump over to IMan, and I'm going to show you the configuration that I've done to be able to bring this order or this data from Magento into SageCRM as an opportunity and a quote. So within IMan, there's three main sections to the product. There's the design area where you actually set up the integration. There's the scheduling area where you or the customers can log in and actually manage the running of these imports or exports. And then there's a setup area which has to do with connections, lookups, etc. That's where they're defined. So we'll be spending probably most of the demonstration today in the design area, because that's where we actually configure the integration. So what I've done is I created the integration before, and like most ETL packages or most middleware solutions, we've got a node-based design. So under each of these nodes are various, each of these nodes does a various action. So the first node is actually defining the Magento connection to be able to retrieve the orders. We've got some transformation in these steps. This is where we actually map the
fields.
The fields, yes, into SageCRM before finally going back up to Magento to actually mark this particular, or mark the orders as being downloaded to prevent them from being reprocessed.
Okay.
So if I double click, what that will do, it'll actually open the underlying setup screen for this particular transform or node.
Yeah, I was about to ask how to view this.
So in here, this is where we actually define what data we're pulling from Magento. So here we're bringing down orders, and we've got some parameters where we can specify things like the status of the orders to download, and also the starting number if that's something that you need to do. But by default, what will happen is that all orders of a particular status, and that by default is pending, will be imported into a data set into IMan, or from Magento to be processed. If I press refresh, what this will do is that IMan will go up to Magento and actually retrieve the data. And you'll see here in this preview area, and you'll see this at each step of the integration, is that this shows you immediately what you're doing to the data. So essentially this is what this is going to be showing us, is our order from Magento. So nothing more, nothing less really. And you can see here,
it's trying out it's running the query.
Exactly. And these are all the fields exposed by Magento on the order. And if we find our increment ID, there it is, 301, and that matches to our order in Magento, which is 301. So this is all we need to do for the data source. This is just pulling the data from Magento. So in order for us to be able to import these orders into Magento, we probably need to do a bit of work with the data by specifying things like mandatory fields, lookups to identify the company to which this is going to be imported, etc. So this is what we're doing in these couple of steps here, is actually transforming some of the data. Now, again, we've got a similar layer.
The actual integration lies into these 4 steps, right? Getting the data, transforming it.
Yep.
I forgot what was the 3rd step, and then injecting it into, mapping it into the injection.
Yep, into SageCRM. So if I go refresh, and if we just scroll right over to the right-hand side, you can see here that I've added in some fields to our header record, company ID, description, etc. And these are some of the fields necessary or required by SageCRM in order to import this into SageCRM. So when we're creating, I'm not sure how familiar you are with SageCRM, but when you're importing, certain things, there are some mandatory fields. So if we're importing an opportunity, we've got to assign that to a company. There are some other things such as the description fields need to be filled in. They also need to be, assigned to some, to a person within or a user within SageCRM so that they can action it, etc. So one of the key fields is to be, when we're importing an opportunity, is to actually link it to a company. So what I've done, I've actually defined a lookup which uses the customer's email address and returns the company ID from SageCRM, and that provides the link back to the company. So this lookup function is something, we have about 160 functions within IMan that can be called, and this is one of them, and fairly key type of function which now allows you to do lookups, translations, etc. So if we just show you...
So here this is one field at a time, right? Or...
Yeah, that's correct. So what that's doing, it's using this customer ID, which is my email address. And if we just go... You can see here that this is the actual email address for this contact for this particular company. So that's how it's doing that lookup. And this lookup, the other part of this lookup is actually defined in the setup area of IMan. So it's essentially a parameterized SQL query to do that, to look into the SageCRM database to do that translation.
And so this lookup will be executed on the SageCRM side,
yes,
right?
That's correct, yes. Yep.
We already have the data set, and then we want to make it match to the Sage data.
That's correct.
So we're executing some mapping. Okay.
Yep, that's right. And then we've got some other fields. So if we look at description, all I've done is new opportunity, so some text with the date embedded in there, or date time. Details, all we're doing is just referencing the description field, so we've got the same value because we need to specify 2 things in SageCRM. Assigned to, I've just assigned a static value there, so that picks up a particular user. We've got the date tag function, and this is another mandatory field, the close by date of an opportunity, and we're just adding 21 days to the current date, etc. So this is how we actually, we can add in static values such as 12 or the currency code, or you can do, you've got functions, etc. To call. And this is not purely functional. You can declare things such as variables, and essentially what you're looking to do, the last line of the function is the result of the field.
It's a VB function, right?
Yeah, that's correct, yes. Yeah, so all of our scripting uses VB script underneath, and we've sort of added the ability to reference data in there, as well as adding in our own library of functions as well.
Interesting.
Right, so what we've got now is we've got all the data in our in our data set. So, and what we have is an order header followed by order details. So one thing to note about IMan is that it supports hierarchical data, and this makes it quite powerful, especially when working with transactions, because it makes the design process, I'll say, a little bit more intuitive, and especially when you're working with quite hierarchical data such as CRM data. The ability to be able to handle hierarchical data and manipulate it is quite important, because the structures in a CRM package are quite hierarchical. Yeah. So what we're going to be doing with this order is what we want to do is to create a new opportunity within CRM per order. So what we need is a structure where we have an opportunity followed by an order followed by order details. So this is what we're actually doing in this third step, is we're introducing another level to our data. And if I go refresh, what we have is now a 3-level structure. So what we're going to be doing is mapping this top level structure to the opportunity. The second level structure will be mapped to the quote, and the third level, the details, will actually be our quote items. Okay. So we've now got our data in the shape that's required, and this final step is now to map it into SageCRM. Takes a bit of time to close. Right, there we go. So here we're going to be importing opportunities. We're just inserting them. We're not updating existing ones. If I go to my field mapping, this is where we actually map the fields onto SageCRM. So we're mapping our header, our very top level transaction type, onto the Sage opportunity record.
Oh, I see. And
if I press edit, what I get is a pick list of all the fields that I can map to within the opportunity or the selected SageCRM entity. So these are all the fields, and I've mapped things like a company, description, details, all the mandatory fields, which I sort of found out by a bit of trial and error. And then what I'm going to be doing is my second level, which is my order header, which I called, is I'm mapping onto the SageCRM quote entity. And so we've set things such as created date, increment ID, we're going to set to description, for example. And then there should be a currency field. So we don't need to do too much at the order header. And finally, we're going to be mapping our order detail onto the quote items. So you can see here, I've had to have created a couple more fields within my data set. One is line type, one is the UOM. And we've mapped things such as description, and we've also got things like mapping the SKU code, the quantity, etc. So within the design process, I can actually press refresh, and this will actually import the data into SageCRM. And this helps you by giving you that functionality. It helps speed up the design process of the integration. So you're actually doing it, you're actually working in a sort of live environment, and you can make changes quite quickly. During the configuration process, you would obviously set your target CRM system to a test system, so you're not affecting live data. And then when you're ready to cut over to live, you just come back in here, set the live system, and then that'll be pointing to the live CRM system.
Okay.
Yep. So I press refresh.
And then you go back to the Magento, and you mark each of them as complete. So how do you flag them? You flag them through, you add a special flag in the table, or you mark them with a note? How do you mark them back?
What I was just about to show you, I just wanted to show you this having been imported into CRM, and then I'll come back and show you how we actually mark it in Magento.
Okay. Okay.
So here, our status has gone complete in our preview area. We've got a successful flag coming through, and so what we should have is we should have a opportunity of this description in SageCRM. So I'm going to look for opportunities. Nope. So you can see here, same date as my description, new opportunity. Here it is. It's been linked to the correct company. There's my description, details, etc. It's been assigned to that person, my currency code. Now if I go to quotes, you can see here that we've now got a quote, a corresponding quote, and the description set. I set the description to the Magento order ID. And you can see here I've now got my 2 lines, line number 1, 2. I've got my quantities, my quoted price. I think my line discount probably needs to be set so we don't have this minus, but the important thing here is that we've got our quoted price and our total agrees. So that's, you know, this was just doing a very basic setup. There's probably a little bit more work to, you know, to make sure that all the data's being mapped correctly, but essentially I've been able to take that order from Magento and put it into SageCRM.
Okay. So during the time that you showed us the detail of the workflow, the job just ran and actually triggered the workflow and replicated the order from one side to another.
Yeah, well that's what happens when I press refresh. Is that you know, when you're working in the designer, pressing refresh actually does the action of the particular transform that you're working in. So yeah, so that, you know, if you're working on something like a hierarchy transform, you'll actually see the results of the hierarchy. But if you're working in a connector where you're integrating with CRM or some other Sage product that we integrate with, then it's actually performing that transaction against the target system. So we've imported the data into SageCRM. What we're going to do now is, at the moment, this order status has been set to pending. What I want to do is I actually want to change this to downloaded, and that will prevent it from being picked up again by IMan the next time that IMan runs. Hello? Who did we lose there?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was actually dropped like for a couple seconds. But I'm
sorry.
back.
Okay.
I'm here.
Yep, great. Okay, so the final step is to just go up to Magento and to flag the order status. So what I did, I created a new field in another map connector just with a value of downloaded, and that's my status field. And what I'm doing, I'm marking the order to be to have a new status. So that's how that works. So this will just take a couple of seconds. So that's gone complete.
So then the logic of not re-downloading it is something that is custom. I mean, it's to implement within the flow, within the workflow.
Yes, that's correct. Yep. So that gives you the opportunity.
If there is like, sorry, just to finish the thinking, if there is like a logic on the Magento side that will update at some point in time the order for some reasons, then we also need to take that into account in the workflow.
That's correct.
IMan workflow.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, what you would need to do is, if you were updating existing orders, you would need, in Magento, you would need to change the status from being pending to, status from being downloaded back to pending, so it could be re-imported. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see here that our status of our Magento order has been changed to downloaded. And if I go back to my Magento data source, press refresh, what will happen?
It doesn't appear anymore.
I've got complete and I've got no data to actually pull in.
So where did you define this downloaded specific filter?
So what's happening here is
Defaults to pending. Oh,
yeah,
I see.
yeah. So
right.
by default, Magento will set all orders to pending as soon as you enter them. So that's how a flag works. But if you had another order status, which was maybe, I don't know, could be ordered, then we can pick up those orders, and it basically works the same way.
Just changing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So that's really what I wanted to demonstrate to you today. I'm happy to field any other questions if you've got some, or I mean, how
so related to the question I asked about, like for example, let's say we have another data source which is non-Magento, which is nothing specific, like a web service that we made, for example.
Yep.
You mentioned that there were some REST readers.
Yes, we're currently developing a REST reader and writer. So we can pull from a variety of raw data formats. They can actually be up on a web service, so we can retrieve from a URL. But at the moment, we don't have proper REST capabilities. But that's something which is currently being worked on and will be released within about a month and a half, I think.
Okay. The reader extender, what is the latest one in the option?
Oh, right, okay. So another thing that comes with our software is we have an SDK. So what that allows you to do is to write the connector pieces, so these final things, these allow you to write the connectors to be able to integrate with a specific application. So that might be, you might have to integrate via COM or .NET, or it might be some sort of SOAP service that we can't integrate with natively, using these, files or database exchange. You can actually write a connector which actually goes and retrieves or updates data within that target application.
So how would that work? Like, could we just have a quick look at it, like 1 minute? I just want to see the shape it has.
What do you mean?
Like, can you drag and drop one custom reader extender and just try to start or write one?
Well, the SDK is actually something which you'd need to develop in a .NET language, but you've actually
seen... Okay, so to compile the...
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. But what you've actually seen with the Magento connector is that's actually a connector which has been written by one of our partners, because they're e-commerce specialists. So they've written a number of e-commerce connectors for us. But they have used our SDK to actually develop those. So that's what you're actually seeing with the Magento connectivity here.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Interesting. So so now I understand why you say that it was fully testable and everything. It's actually a .NET solution. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good.
Okay, so can we go just one last time through the ordering process?
Okay.
And what I want to know is how can we sort of automate or schedule?
Okay.
Well, you showed us some of the scheduling, but can we instantaneously just do the order Magento and then have it transformed to Sage?
Okay. Yep. Okay. So what I'm what I will do, I'll run the integration from start to finish, but I just need to update a couple of things within our within the setup, so that we can actually get some feedback from so we actually get some meaningful feedback when we import this data. This will become a little bit more apparent when we actually run this from start to finish. Opportunity process. So what I'm doing here is I'm just setting up some audit information, and this will be displayed on the audit report, which is generated as part of whenever IMan runs. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reorder this. Now I'm going to run the job. So what we have the ability to do within IMan is either to run it now, which is what I'm going to do here, or you can set up a recurring import, and that can be scheduled to to run, might be 3 times in an hour. You might do it twice a day, once at or once at night. However frequently you want that to run, we can set up that schedule within IMan.
Just a quick, stupid question. What is the average timing that is being set in production from the customers that you have?
It depends on how many orders they've got, the business's workflow as to how often they want to bring the data into the target solution.
Mm-hmm. And probably how powerful is their system as well?
Well, not so much how powerful, but it really depends on the business's workflow. I mean, we have customers who do an import, every 10 minutes because they're always receiving orders
they don't need less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas some people only import twice a day. It just depends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
what we've got here is we've got the audit report, which gets generated as part of processing. So this is what I was entering before on my within the audit information of the CRM connector. So what this has done, it's listed the number of orders processed, any errors, and then it's listed the Magento order ID, and then I put in the description into the audit report, followed by the flag whether something was successful or failed. Okay, and that same audit report also gets emailed, so you don't need to be logged into IMan obviously to run this all the time. If it's set up on a recurring schedule, IMan will perform the processing and you'll receive the audit report in form of an email. So this is what would be the customer's, this is what they'd receive to ensure that something's running or not running.
Pretty cool. Quick question, if there is no order imported, will you still receive an email?
You can set that up, so it depends on how you've got that set up. So I've got it set at the moment to always produce the audit report, but you've got options there of only when processed data, only on a failure, or never.
Okay. Can you repeat the three options?
Well, they're listed there. So always.
Has processed data. Okay, cool. Only on a trust fund failure or never. Okay, cool. Yeah, otherwise it might be like an overkill if you set the schedule to like every 10 seconds.
Exactly.
Your mailbox will be bombed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Pretty cool. Does that answer your question, Abdul?
Yeah. Can we go to the CRM?
Yes. What would you like to see?
So now this second order
Yep.
is in the CRM.
Yep.
Okay.
So that's
So if you open
1436. And where's our ID? It is somewhere. Maybe over in quotes. Yeah, there it is. So 302.
Okay. So if you click on that quote,
Yes.
and does it have the products? Sorry, I can't see very well.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
So here's the two
Cool.
products here.
So if you open that, so did we map those product information to the product?
Yes, so what I did prior to the demonstration is I know that I've got some products in Magento which aren't in CRM. So what I did, I just created the products prior to me demonstrating them.
Okay, so you would have to have those products in here?
No. So what we can do, and I'm just going to sort of move off this particular integration to something slightly different. So where's a good one? Yeah. So this is just a different Magento integration that I've got set up. You can actually, the import or any particular process isn't linear. So what you could do is have a branch of processing which would perhaps create the products dynamically as they're coming from Magento.
Okay, I see. And those products will somehow end up being in Sage.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
So we would extend. Where is it? That one.
So the IDs wouldn't match, but the reference ID would match in both systems.
That's correct.
You would use that to look up.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're updating existing orders or quotes, then you would do a lookup on the, using the reference to find what the quote ID is that you need to update.
Okay.
So what
Cool.
you would have
Now-
here is you would need to expose the, yes. So you would map into the product. You would insert a new product and then map. You know, you'd need to do some transformation to get your data correct, but essentially there's all the product fields.
I see.
Yep.
I see. And those are product fields coming from, this is SageCRM.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then on the left is...
These are all the fields in my data set
Okay,
for
cool.
for my
All right.
top level data. So
when you go to Magento and process that, sorry, to Sage and process that order, sorry, that information will be then, as you have here, then it will be sent back to Magento. So the update, so if you go to the CRM now,
yes.
and you're at that order, if you go back to that
All right,
order,
okay,
if you don't
yep.
mind. And yeah, maybe so here, so it just shows the order. How do you process the order, or you don't have that now?
Well, what are you looking to actually do? Are you looking to convert this from an opportunity to a sale, or?
Yeah, if we want to do that. So exactly. So this came as a quote.
Yep.
From Magento.
Yep.
And now the customer actually is buying this. So.
Well, this would be a SageCRM function. So you would go convert.
Oh, I see.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think you need to fill in some additional fields, and that will actually convert the quote from a quote to an order, I believe. I'm not a CRM expert.
Okay. And then once you do this, what is fed back to Magento?
Well, whatever you want, really, is the answer.
Okay. I understand. So you can say, well, once it's converted, that means the order is processed, and so on.
That's correct. Yeah, correct.
Because basically we would there set up, and that's a pretty good question. I mean, we would then set up a second workflow that would listen for the stuff from Sage to import it back to Magento, correct? So we would have another set of workflow steps.
Yeah, you could do that. Yes, just depends on what you're trying to achieve, really.
Okay, I was curious about that on the pricing level, because I was not very. That you have 3 columns for pricing, like unlimited, 2, and 1, and I'm not quite sure what it is referring to.
Okay, so what that means is yes, so we've got unlimited 2 and 1 integration. So this here, a single data flow, is what we term as an integration, yeah, or workflow. A single workflow is an integration. So if all your customer needed to do was to import orders from Magento and put them into SageCRM as opportunities, you would just need to buy the 1 integration license with the relevant connectors. If you needed a second workflow, which queried SageCRM and pulled out orders which had been converted to quotes which had been converted to an order, that would constitute a second data flow. So you would need to go to.
So it's about data flows.
Yeah,
so the case we just said precedently, like 10 seconds ago, was one way Magento to Sage, and then another way back to from Sage to Magento would be 2 integrations.
That's correct.
Okay, and sorry, is this US dollar?
Yes.
The bottom
Pounds
part.
first and US dollar second.
Oh yeah. Here, USD.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Cool. And what's the support and training we get with this?
Well, Well, when you purchase the product, you get, well, it's mandatory to buy for the first year at least, software assurance, which gives you obviously product updates and compatibility with the latest versions of products.
And how much is that?
That's 20% of the cost.
Okay.
And that's payable yearly. Then, I mean, we provide a little bit of support, free support and assistance to help you get up and running. But we obviously don't provide free configuration service.
Okay.
That would be charged.
But you have the documentation for that, right?
Yeah, of course, yes.
Okay, good. So 2,000, and this is per server.
Yeah, that's correct.
So, and what if we have like our own development server to start things with? Do we also still need to buy the license?
You can buy a development server license at the cost of software assurance. So that would be 20%.
Oh, I see. So
Yep.
20% of wherever we want, the one integration to integration or unlimited. Okay.
Yep. But in saying that, our software comes with a non-expiring trial. So where the only limitation is the amount of data that you can process in any one particular data set.
Mm-hmm.
So we limit it to about 15 records of data. Yeah.
And this is a trial.
This is a
version,
trial which
right?
will never expire.
Cool.
Okay. And so let me remember. We were not able to. Sorry.
That's right.
Nicholas, remind me.
Mm-hmm.
What was the issue of trying to deploy this on the Magento server? Or there was no issue?
No, there was no issue. It has to be deployed on the Sage VM, and we're waiting for the Sage setup. That's it.
Oh, I remember now. Okay, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
No issue so far.
cool. Cool. Now, James, just one last question.
Yes.
If I want to see what we have today, is we have Sage CRM, but then there's an integration. I don't know if you know, through Greatrix.
Yes, I know.
Between Sage. Sorry.
I know Greatrix.
Yeah. So there's an integration between that and Mass ERP.
Okay.
Even older version of Mass.
Okay.
And that's how we were promoting actually the products and the actual sales orders for billing and all that good stuff. Is there something that sort of includes that in it?
What do you mean?
Or is it, so can we use this to also do the ERP integration?
Yes.
So can we go from Sage to Mass through this?
We don't have a Mass connector.
Okay.
But I mean, integration with Mass is quite, it's done at a database level because there is no real API that you can connect through.
Mm-hmm.
So you could potentially use our product, to pull the data out using either our reader product or directly by using the DB reader. Do your necessary transformation and then update it via database as well. But I am reasonably unfamiliar with Mass, so we wouldn't be able to help you with that, designing the integration because we don't know the logic of how Mass works, what database, what tables to update, etc. So it is theoretically possible, but you would need to do a lot of the legwork yourself, I think.
Yeah, I think we'll have to just make sure that the Sage Magento integration is done right, and then have Greatrix handle the rest.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. Well, that's it. Thank you That's it from my side. Thank you so much.
That's all right. Nicholas, did you have any other queries or?
Anyway, let me just check my notes, but I think, no, I think I asked all the questions.
Okay.
I'm good as well.
Great.
That's great.
Okay.
Thank you so much, James. We'll hopefully, you know, we still are building and prototyping this whole thing. Then we're
Yes.
gonna show it to the customer.
Okay.
And then hopefully we'll get some good feedback that we can progress from there.
Okay. So with the recording, which I'm just going to stop now,